In today's episode, we are tackling two crazy important subject matters: the power of good quality sleep and how good quality sleep helps us metabolize hard emotions. Let's get started. Welcome to Live Mindfully with Laurie Moore, the podcast that invites us all to slow down and take a deep breath. And show up as the most mindful and wholehearted versions of ourselves that we can each day. And I want to start today's podcast by breaking down that last statement. Showing up as the most mindful, wholehearted versions of ourselves that we can each day. You are not the same person as you were yesterday, and you will not be the same person tomorrow. Things are going to happen today that change how you show up tomorrow, and things happened yesterday or last week or last year that are dictating how you are showing up today. How you process emotions and manage thoughts are influencing how you show up as your most mindful, wholehearted self today. So if today you aren't very mindful and you certainly don't self-identify as wholehearted, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe you had a hard day yesterday or a hard week, or Lord knows, we have had some challenging years that we're all still collectively processing. Maybe you slept poorly last night and your ability to metabolize your emotions from your hard days are influencing today. And many people don't know this, but sleep is one of the most important ways our bodies and minds metabolize emotions. And this is a real thing. If you have read or are familiar with Matthew Walker's work or book, Why We Sleep, he talks about this a lot, how you metabolize emotions, or specifically in Matthew's book, he talks about recalibrating emotions, comes down to the good quality of your sleep. So if you are currently suffering from fatigue or even chronic fatigue, and you haven't already done so, I would look into what your past few days, months, and years have looked like in terms of emotional toll and sleep. Because we all know that feeling, right? When we're having a really hard time. We're tired. And our bodies urge us to go to sleep. We feel really fatigued when we are processing hard emotions like grief and sadness, embarrassment, confusion, loneliness, anger. Everything is screaming to us to go to bed. And we even say things like, you know what? I should have just stayed in bed today. This day is BS. Or I want to go to bed and pull the covers over my head and forget that I feel this way. There's a really strong reason, right? As simple as this sounds, there is likely a strong link between how mindful and wholehearted you are today and how well you are metabolizing emotions over the course of the 7 to 9 hours of sleep you are getting. Or should be getting. And it really is that simple. We think it has to be more complicated than that, and perhaps for some of us it might be, but it's a fantastic starting point, isn't it? Getting the right quality of sleep. If that is not happening, start there. We need ambient room temperature, recommended to be about 18 degrees Celsius. We need limited noise. And as a side note here, I want to say my husband, and hello husband, I love you, and I know you know what I'm going to say. We've been together for 14 years, married for 5. He snores like badly, like really loudly. So for 14 years, every single day, every single night, I have worn earplugs. And the days are closing in, my dear husband, on your sleep study. But so long as you don't, shove earplugs deep into your ears, you can wear earplugs without issue. And I have for over a decade, because it's important that we limit noise that pulls us out of our REM sleep, because this usually occurs after our deep sleep. And this means it is so much harder to fall back asleep if you are woken up in that sleep stage, especially if something upsetting was playing on your mind before you went to bed. That thought, that annoying feeling will be there for you when you wake at 3 a.m. and you can't get back to sleep. And we need to be comfortable. It's also really important to have a little 10 to 15 minute routine around bedtime. Flossing and brushing the teeth, limiting the amount of devices you have in the bedroom, focus on reading or listening to a book. And also making a routine around what time we go to bed is really important. I have a friend whose husband snores and they can't share a room. She can't sleep. And so they sleep in separate rooms. And that means they both get an amazing sleep. And they've done that for years. And given that sleep is so important in our ability to process, metabolize, and recalibrate our emotions, it's good hygiene for our minds. So it's important that we also make sure those around us, particularly those in our living quarters, are also getting good sleep. Our partners, and particularly our children. So I want to invite you to consider your sleep hygiene, your routine around sleep, particularly if you are the kind of person who upon waking, you don't feel good. You're impatient, you're tired, you're the kind of person who needs coffee to get started. And bearing in mind, it takes the body around 45 minutes to wake up. So if you open your eyes and you're like, oh, I'm tired. Yeah, of course you are. You're coming out of a deep sleep state. 45 minutes until you really are fully awake. Matthew talks about that in his book too, where he also explains the natural circadian rhythm of our sleep and the chemicals our bodies naturally produce to induce sleep and wake times. Actually, it is a really fascinating book. You should definitely read it. I know, I feel like I say that a lot on this podcast. The other thing I invite you to consider is doing a midday yoga nidra. So yoga nidra, Nidra, is a yogic sleep. Nidra means sleep in Sanskrit. And with 15 to 35 minutes, it's like a really deep relaxation, really deep meditation. And you can find loads on YouTube or head to iRest, the letter I, and then rest.org/try-iRest-now. And I have put the link in the show notes. And Yoga Nidra has been proven in studies to have the same effect on the body as 4 to 6 hours of sleep. And that's not me embellishing. That's the research. Because I want you to show up as the most mindful and wholehearted version of yourself that you can each day. And I also want you to understand that that person changes every day. And that's completely okay. Wherever you are on that spectrum of mindfulness and wholeheartedness is okay. Because you're not the only one. We're all doing that. Today, I feel great. I paddleboarded along the Forgan Cove where I live. I chatted with my best friend for an hour while doing it. I slept really well. Now I'm talking to you. But when I went to the supermarket and I was smiling ear to ear, I can assure you that I was the only one doing that. And tomorrow, I can assure you that I will not be the person that I was today. And that's okay. It really, really is. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. The links are in the show notes to Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, and to iRest's free pre-recorded Yoga Nidra transcripts, which you can listen to middle of the day. Don't do it too close to 6 p.m. I really encourage you to give Yoga Nidra a go. It's awesome. Have an amazing week. And I look forward to catching up with you again next week. Until then, take good care of yourself.